fantasy football projections, boys. Are you ready for this?
Born ready.
We're going to go through every single player
Right
in the
up my
NFL
alley.
line by line.
Backups too.
When's the last time? So I've been an avid fantasy football player for basically my entire adult life. I am mostly not good at it relative to my really good friends. I've only won probably like I've been in leagues for like 20 years. I've won like 3 of them. So I'm not very good. But you're out on fantasy football,
Yeah, I've been
right?
out since, I think the last time, I briefly participated in a league here at Hubbard a few years back.
That's right.
In which I was full admission, not fully engaged in it. The last time I played fantasy football seriously was probably the early 2000s. When I started covering the Packers for the Star Tribune in 2003, I realized that my focus was on one team.
Okay.
And it's really hard when you don't care about the Tennessee Titans to draft guys from the Titans.
See, I'm the other way. I
quit at that point.
See, you're looking
I quit
at
baseball too.
But you've got it backwards. You're looking at it from a standpoint of, I don't like the Tennessee Titans, therefore I don't want to play. I play fantasy football so that I am interested in the Tennessee Titans, so that I will watch a Thursday night game or a Monday night game. But I
didn't have time to actually compete there. That was my problem.
But the devil's advocate against your advocate is I don't get upset when the Titans tight end doesn't score a touchdown.
Delaney Walker has ruined many nights for me.
I can just watch Delaney Walker ruin the Tennessee Titans and not my life.
Damn you, Delaney Walker.
But I used to watch everything. Like I was in on before I started to cover a team on Sundays, I try and watch everything. In fact, we had DirecTV for a few years when we moved into our house in 2000, pre-Red Zone, and I had the ticket.
That's too much work, though. The ticket's too much work,
and I'd be flipping around. Yeah, but
Red Zone's the play.
Red Zone's great, but before it, I was like flipping around from game to game. You got to go to this game. You got to go to that game. And then I started to cover one team. I'm like, I can't keep up with this. This is where
like the Sunday ticket sounds great, but it's like, just tell me what your menu is.
The Sunday ticket when it started was great. Red Zone is the greatest sports achievement on television of all time. Exactly right.
So where would you guys think in your minds, where should Kirk Cousins rank, give or take, in terms of fantasy statistical output going into 2020?
Declan, you want to guess first?
So it's yards and touchdowns
and this is overall. This is in position. Like
this is just quarterbacks.
Just quarterbacks.
Just quarterbacks.
Yep. I would guess he's probably 8th.
Judd?
I'd go 8th.
Yeah, I would, because he does put out pretty damn good fantasy statistics. Is my guess. I'd say he's like 6th.
Well,
you like that? You like that?
He's 22nd.
What?
22nd.
I thought
according to ESPN.com.
He's a good box score.
Not as good of a box score. So here's two. I'll give you the projected statistics, and I'll give you sort of the logic behind this.
I didn't look at this.
So Kirk Cousins is projected by ESPN.com to throw for 3,700 yards. So it would be he did throw for 3,600 yards, I believe, last year. 21 touchdowns, which would be on the lower end of his career, if not the lowest in a starting season.
Okay.
10 interceptions. And here's the key. He doesn't really run very often. So he's only going to run for like 100 yards and a couple touchdowns according to this projection.
Gotcha.
So when you look at fantasy numbers and just pure quarterback production, the top of this list is Lamar Jackson, who's projected to run for almost 1,000 yards and also throw for 3,000 plus yards.
Yep.
Pat Mahomes, who's just one of the most ridiculous passers.
So he's second to Lamar Jackson?
Lamar Jackson, number 1, just fantasy.
Right.
Pat Mahomes, number 2. Deshaun Watson, number 3. Mobility. They've got Dak Prescott taking a big jump up in fantasy projections because of probably Mike McCarthy and offensive competence.
And Jason Garrett being gone.
Right. Russell Wilson, 5. Kyler Murray, 6. Tom Brady, 7.
Yep.
Matt Ryan, Josh Allen, and Carson Wentz round out the top 10.
Wait. Did you say Tom Brady's 7th?
Yep.
Well, if there's
his weapons in Tampa Bay are ridiculous, though.
Yeah, but if I'm going to go on if you can run or not, there's no way I'm putting him 7th. If I'm dropping Cousins, and I am not here to defend Kirk, as both of you guys know, but if I'm dropping Cousins to 22nd, I ain't putting Tom Brady at 7th if I put any value at all on the ability to be mobile.
But here's my argument for Tom Brady, okay? Tom Brady is probably
going to... people?
I like old people.
Geriatric?
He's probably going to throw the ball more. If both guys play 16 games, Tom Brady is probably going to be allowed to and empowered to throw the ball more often than Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
And Tom Brady has a more ridiculous set of offensive players to throw to.
Dumb question. So, are quarterbacks in fantasy now, in drafts or auctions, is there a priority put on them because the skill set has changed? Because back in my day, like guys like Favre, Aikman, they would drop.
Yeah, you
They
can.
wouldn't be high draft
It
picks.
kind of depends. So I'm in one league that actually awards 6 points for a touchdown pass, and so there is some value. Like if you can get a guy who's going to throw a bunch of touchdown passes, it makes sense to nab him early. But for the most part, you can pretty much, if you have a 12-person league or even like a 10-person league, even more so, you can pretty much wait until toward the end. I wouldn't wait. I would try to get a guy if you think he's there, but it's usually foolish to draft a quarterback early or spend a lot of money in your auction on a quarterback.
Okay.
Running backs. Where would you guys think Dalvin Cook should rank on this list of running backs? Statistics for 2020. Fantasy projection.
I'd say fourth.
Top 5 for sure.
Yeah, he's top 5.
I'll say 5.
Number 3.
Okay.
Dalvin Cook, third on this list.
Fair.
Christian McCaffrey's number 1, projected to run for 1,000 yards and catch 90 passes for 700 or 800 yards. Zeke Elliott, number 2. Dalvin Cook, projected by ESPN.com to run for 1,055 yards, 10 touchdowns, and catch 64 passes for 531 yards. So I'll ask you this as opposed to like, where should he rank? I think we all agree this is pretty accurate. He's a top 5 running back. If he stays healthy, he's probably top 3. You could even make a case he's in the mix for 1 or 2 in a full season.
Yep.
If Dalvin Cook were to run for 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, catch 64 passes for 530 yards, A, is that a good season? And B, would you look to sign him to an extension with that type of production and health?
Good season? No, I would not. Because go through the top 5 again. Top 5.
Christian McCaffrey,
running backs. Okay.
Zeke Elliott,
Okay.
Dalvin Cook,
Okay.
Saquon Barkley,
Yep.
Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Packers, Derrick Henry, Kenyon Drake.
Of that list.
Kenyon Drake, you're getting into the territory of guys you can find, by the way.
Of that list, which one will suffer a serious injury that will derail his season? Because it will be one of those guys. I guarantee you one of them will suffer the Saquon Barkley effect of 2019 and be derailed early on by a significant, most likely torn ACL.
I mean, I hate to project someone's physical demise, but Christian McCaffrey touched the ball over 400 times last year. How many times have you seen in NFL history
I think you're on the right track.
Workload season like Jamal Anderson, 1998, Terrell Davis, like go back to the 90s and then all the examples we see.
Yeah.
You touch the ball over 400 times and you become a football ticking time bomb.
The delicious one will be Aaron Jones, because if Aaron Jones goes down, I think the Packers offense completely goes into a tailspin.
Yeah.
It would.
The delicious
It
one.
would.
The delicious one.
Feasting on a man's tendons.
Yeah.
Declan Goff
That would
over
be
there.
That'd be bad.
All right, wide receiver. Where would you guys should Adam Thielen be ranked highly here? Where would you think Adam Thielen should be ranked? Fantasy projections among wide receivers. Michael Thomas is number 1.
So I think because he had the injury season, and also he loses Stephon Diggs, so I'm kind of curious if that upticks at all because they think he'll get more targets, but because he's of his age and his injury history, I bet he's outside the top 10.
I'm going to put him at 15.
ESPN.com has him 8th.
Oh wow, okay.
So they're a little bit conservative in their projections here. They don't have a bunch of guys going for 1,500 yards by any means. Michael Thomas is scheduled here, according to ESPN.com, to catch 114 passes for 1,300 yards. Well, he had 1,700 yards last year on 149. So they're regressing some of these guys back toward the mean.
Sure.
So Adam Thielen is projected to catch 77 passes for 1,100 yards, 6 touchdowns, and he'll carry the ball a few times too on just like reverses or whatever. I think their logic here, having him 8th, and here's the rankings. It's Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, Chris Godwin with the Buccaneers, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Mike Evans. So Tom Brady, according to this, is throwing to 2 of the top 7 statistical projected wide receivers.
Okay.
Adam Thielen, DJ Moore with the Panthers, Kenny Golladay with the Lions, Allen Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster, Robert Woods, Cortland Sutton, and Odell Beckham Jr. Their logic here seems to be he's going to get targeted a ton because Stephon Diggs isn't here anymore, and if he stays healthy, he's going to capitalize on it. I've heard Judd's logic be sort of the other way around, which is, well, Diggs is gone, therefore teams are going to focus on taking Adam Thielen out of the game plan, and therefore he might actually be reduced in how much productivity we see. I tend to lean toward the first one. I tend to lean toward, hey, he's going to be the guy. He's going to get 10 targets a game, and they're just going to force feed him the
But
ball.
they can
and
use
they're
their tight
passing
ends
down.
too. That's the thing. They can use Dalvin Cook. They can use what I want to know at the end of the day, to use a cliche, is this: who runs the 9 route here? Who's the deep threat? Who's the deep threat?
BC.
Because it might be because Jefferson was predominantly, at least in his last year in college, a slot guy. Thielen has been, but he can run the deep route. But who's going to run the Diggs route? Because Cousins didn't always find Diggs, but Diggs ran that route incredibly well and was a threat. I want to know if Thielen can replace that.
Would you like the Vikings, the other wide receivers, and what they're projected to do here?
Yeah.
What would you guess for
BB?
Justin Jefferson for statistics?
Outside the top 50.
How low do we go?
Just give me like his stat line.
How low do we go?
I would say 50 catches, 650 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Whoa!
That's a nice
56 catches, 683 yards, and 4 touchdowns.
50 catches, right?
Declan Goff in the
Wow.
house here. Yeah, if Justin Jefferson lived up to ESPN.com's 56 catches, 683, and 4 touchdowns, I'm taking that in a rookie season.
Hell
I'm
yeah,
taking
Yeah,
for
I'd
a
take it.
rookie.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
Here are the Vikings tight end projections according to ESPN.com. Irv Smith Jr., 46 catches for 480 and 3 touchdowns.
I think that might be low.
Rudolph, 36 catches for 357 and 4 touchdowns.
Might be high.
So they've got Rudolph catching one more touchdown. But
Somebody might be low. Somebody might be high.
all right, where do you think Dan Bailey ranks?
Ooh.
Vikings
Dan
kicker
Bailey's
rankings.
coming off a nice season. I would take him.
Where-
Zim
what-
might not, but
where
I
is he-
would.
Where does he rank in the fantasy kicker projections?
9th.
Judd?
7th.
You guys are way off. They're very low on Dan Bailey. He's 20th.
Oh, bleep him.
Come on.
Bleep that. They're not- You know what? Did Mike Zimmer do
Yeah.
these?
Zim did these rankings.
Yeah, they've got him. They actually
That
have him.
Mike Zimmer.
They've got him missing a kick under 40 yards. They've got him 15 of 16, 1 through 39 yards. They've got him 3 of
What?
5 from beyond
Back
50.
off.
And they've got him missing 2 extra points. Just saying.
Back off.
Dan Bailey.
Get out of my face.
They don't rank punters because it's fantasy rankings, but I would sure be
Colquitt,
curious to see where Colquitt ranks here.
incredible holder. That's what I'm going to tell you right now. As long as Colquitt is here, Bailey's okay. They found the problem. The problem was the holder.
Lastly, is there the Vikings defense? Is
Sure.
that one on there?
It is on here.
It
All right.
shouldn't be as high as it used to be. Right?
Right.
Now these rankings are more about it's special teams and it's
That's true.
turnovers and stuff. So it's not.
They don't
They're
for- they're
not
not gonna
ranking
force
like
me
yards
turnovers.
per play here, but the Bills are number 1. Where would you guess the Vikings are?
I think the Vikings should be like 10th these days.
Yeah, I would say 10th's probably a good
12th. You guys are pretty
12th.
close.
Okay.
So barely draftable in your fantasy leagues.
You guys think the Vikings defensively are going to score points?
Then
Which is arbitrary too.
I feel like
I
they
get the
so
rarely,
hard to say.
I get the fact, but I don't know it.
even when they've been at their height 2 or 3 years ago, I don't really remember them being like an opportunistic defense
No.
like that. They were just a
It's more of a
good
y-
defense.
Like
It's a-
Tomlin
it's a
was,
great-
Dungy was.
Yeah, their
Scoop and score, Dex.
the 2017 season where they had the best defense in the NFL. It wasn't based on 30 interceptions, and it was based on yards per play.
Yep.
And amazing third down percentage.
Yep.
It was like the best third down percentage in the history of modern defenses. I will say, to answer your defensive touchdowns question, Judd, I could see what are the things that lead to defensive touchdowns? Strip sacks, and you pick it up and score, and pick sixes, right?
Yep.
I don't know if I foresee a lot of pick sixes, and by a lot I mean like if you have 3 in a season, you're doing pretty well as defense.
Sure.
But Daniil Hunter could definitely get his paws on a couple quarterbacks and maybe force a couple.
Shamar
defensive
Stephens
touchdowns.
can rumble to the end zone.
Michael Pierce,
Michael Pierce, I don't
rumbling,
wanna-
bumbling, stumbling.
Poor Linval still looking for oxygen in Philadelphia.
He is. All right, that's a wrap on this episode of Purple Daily. Vikings fantasy stats according to ESPN.com. Thanks for hanging out with us.